Ready.
Hey guys, Chad Hallett, Captain Mortgage here with my good friend and top real estate partner, Holly Perkins. Uh, Here for another episode of Whiskey, Wisdom, and Real Estate. So today we are back to drinking Yellowstone whiskey, which, as we discussed the last time, has been around a lot longer than the show.
Do you think it's around because of the national park?
I think that's where they originally got the name of. I know I spoke about it on my last podcast episode, but I did the research just because I wanted to see if it was good bourbon or if it was just a spinoff from the show, and that's why it was popular.
Yeah.
It turns out it's actually good bourbon. So today we're gonna do our
Smells
thing.
good. Yeah.
Oh, I love this.
Smells great.
Absolutely good.
Give you some wisdom.
Feeling smarter already.
Good.
And I prepped for this because I was actually at a happy hour networking event, and I drank water. Because I knew I'd be hanging out with you and drinking whiskey here shortly.
Funny.
But let's start off for our viewers / listeners on who the heck are you?
Well, I'm Holly Perkins. I come here to Virginia, actually. So I grew up as a military brat, so to speak. And we planted roots in Memphis, Tennessee. As an adult, we decided we were going to move to Virginia. So we did in 2007, and we absolutely love it. So we currently reside in Caroline County. Fun little rural area where there's some farmland. King's Dominion, for those who know about that amusement park. That's usually my landmark that I tell people, like, you know what King's Dominion is? And they're like, oh yeah, I live down there. Yeah. Okay, great.
Keep driving until you don't have cell service, and then you'll see.
Exactly.
Well, good deal. I first met you, Lordy, I want to say 2020.
2019, I was an admin for Perkins Realty in Bowling Green.
Was it that early?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I was hustling out there early, huh? That's correct. And you were working the front desk, but Miss Mary, one of the brokers / owners, was saying that you were studying to get your real estate license.
Yes.
So tell us about that. What started the admin position? Did you already know you were going to be a realtor, or did you just want a job, or?
Sort of. I kind of knew that I was going to be a realtor. It actually started when I was 20 years old. My dad kept pushing me, you need to go to real estate school. You need to go to real estate school. And I really wanted to. And I love everything about homes, decorating, any kind of styling, organization, love to go look at homes, all that good stuff. And my dad kept pushing me, and I didn't do it. I actually went into the dental field for 16 years. I was a surgical dental assistant. And sometimes that just, jobs can kind of wear you out a little bit. And so I took an open door, opened it up, and I was like, goodbye, dental field. And I left the dental field after 16 years. And I was just going to work from home. I had a direct sales business, and I was doing very well with the direct sales business. And so it was able to supplement my dental income. And then Mary needed an admin at Pitts and Mans and asked me if I'd like to come in a few days a week and do it. And that's just basically how it started. And I was writing checks for these agents. I was writing their commission checks, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's time.
That's right. You already have sales experience. You're not afraid to talk to people. Might as well cash those big girl checks, right?
Yes. And the marketing aspect of it too. So I had a lot of experience with that self-taught kind of marketing stuff. So
so when I first met you, nice, bubbly personality. You're getting ready to become an agent. So I definitely saw potential, saw some interest there. And I really like your office.
Oh, thanks.
Really like your office.
I do too.
I know that initially when I was first out there hustling and trying to make relationships with them, it didn't really kick off right away. But I always had an appreciation for you guys because you're my kind of people. So people see me in downtown Fredericksburg, they see me in DC, and they're like, oh, Chad's just one of those loan officers, right? City boy, partying it up, whatever. But reality is, I'm a country boy.
Yeah.
I got cows, chickens,
goats,
one duck, thanks to my dad.
Goats.
Yeah, she's trying to curse me. But yeah, so you guys were my kind of people. I love small town America, and I love country living. So you guys were definitely my peeps. I just had to we had to bridge that gap there.
Yes, yes, absolutely. You being in the big city made it a little difficult, but you came to visit us, so that was great. But no, I love small town America as well. And I think that a lot of people are starting to understand and appreciate the small town living and the slowing down of things from the hustle and bustle of the cities. So a lot of people are migrating from the Northern Virginia, Maryland, West Virginia, what have you. They're migrating further down south and coming into the rural areas.
Sure.
Which we love to see, but sometimes people don't like to see that, but we do, because they bring in the fresh perspective and new businesses and things. So
I think it's like any migration, just like from California to Texas, whatever. It's they're like, hey, you're welcome, but don't try to change us how we are.
it has a little of that.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But I think the more that we have the generations, I hate to say it like this, but some generations are kind of on their way out,
Yeah.
and then there's the newer generations that are bringing new life to these things, but they're still holding that.
I think that was her way of marketing to the 55 plus communities.
There is one actually in the Ladysmith area.
Yeah.
So, but I think that, the people that are coming in, they love it. That's why they came, because they love that small town living, and they don't want to necessarily change that part about it.
Mhm.
But they want to bring in that business for
Yeah.
people. And when you bring in business, you bring in more people to shop, you bring in more people that want to live there, you bring in more money for our schools and different
Yeah.
things like that. So it just makes the world go round, honestly.
It does. I just believe in responsible growth. I was
Mhm.
talking to an agent earlier today about this, but she lives in Caroline, and I was describing how my fears for Spotsylvania is that we'll turn into Stafford 10 years from now.
Mhm.
And Stafford, they got hot and heavy in the development. The builders are making out like fat cats,
Yes.
paying coffers, which the coffers, seem like a lot of money. It's like 100K in some for some subdivisions, sometimes more. But 100K doesn't go far when you have to build a new fire department, a new school, and then you got to staff all those people. They get salaries, they get health care, benefits.
And kind of to
So it's
interrupt
gotta come
though,
from
when
there.
you have to hire new people, if you don't have anyone in that small town living that can fulfill that job position, you do have to go outside of the small
Yeah,
town to find somebody for that position. And I think that upsets people
yeah.
as well. But it's again, it's part of that growth that needs to happen.
Growth is inevitable. It's just for me, it's hard to see family farms turn into subdivisions, but I know that's life.
Mhm.
Population's growing, and we have to have a place for people to live.
Yeah, that's one thing that I really respect about Caroline County, though, is because there are over 200 farms in Caroline County alone,
Mhm.
and the farmers there and the supporters of those farmers are so adamant about keeping those farms.
Yeah,
So I really like that. I mean, there's plenty of land to go around. There's plenty of land that's
sure.
not being farmed.
Yeah,
So you don't have to put a farmer out of business to grow, to build a subdivision. The subdivisions might have to be on a little bit of a smaller scale. However, you can have them more spread out, different things like that. There's options. There's options. You don't have to put the farmer out of business.
well, I'm not asking for much, Holly. I just want a 100-acre farm on Lake Anna, and everybody leave me alone.
I
No,
just
not much.
I just had 20 acres for
Yeah.
sale in Lake Anna, actually. So that's great out there. I love Lake Anna.
Yeah,
I do a lot of business in Lake Anna, so that's
yeah.
good.
Back to Caroline though, when I was newer to the business, I went about it a little bit differently than other loan officers. I wanted to, especially since I'm former military and I'm not native to this area, I wanted to learn everything I could. So I would attend all sorts of meetings. So your guys' county board meetings, stuff like that. People are like, "What are you doing?"
That was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I learned that you guys were investing heavily and hitting up the government for grants and stuff for broadband internet. So
Mhm.
even though it is a very rural area and very old school and good country living, small town America, they have high speed internet. They have the things that we want to move there to be successful. And I think we all learned the hard way when you don't, right? During COVID,
Yes.
I was living that hood life in Partlow in the country with my little Verizon MiFi device, trying to run a business.
Well, actually, with the high-speed internet, it's still to this day, not the entire county does not have high-speed internet. A lot of the county does have high-speed internet. So you're like Bowling Green in the Ladysmith area, where you have all of your lake communities, because we have Lake Landor, Lake Caroline, and Caroline Pines is also a lake community.
I don't know about Caroline Pines.
Yeah, and so it's a little bit of a smaller established neighborhood, and it's great, but those neighborhoods all have high-speed internet. But where I live, which is literally 5 minutes from Kings Dominion, we do not have high-speed internet yet.
Gotcha.
But we do have our grant in place, and so that not having high-speed internet throughout the entire county has hindered a lot of people from moving here, which is really hard because some people have to move here for job relocation, especially like people who are being relocated to AP Hill, and they don't want to be in a subdivision, they don't want to have to pay an HOA, but they still want to, have that small town living because they have to. So we do struggle a lot with the high-speed internet. The good thing is Starlink.
Elon Musk fixes everything, right?
Yes. So we do have Starlink. I personally have Starlink now. It's been fantastic. So I do tell people about that a lot. I mean, the equipment's pretty easy to get a hold of. It takes less than 15 minutes, all that kind of good jazz. And I'm glad that we have that option. But the whole county is expected to have high-speed internet by 2026.
That's actually not too far away.
No,
it's scary to think about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not too far away. We were told we were never going to get it at our old place in Partlow because just the cost alone to go down the side road and then go down our dead end road.
Yes.
They're just like, if you want to pay out of pocket, you can, but they're talking crazy numbers like 60K or something.
I was going to say $100,000 is what I've heard for a street. That it's a rural area, has a couple farms on it. It's called Panola Road. Actually, two of our agents, Valerie and Sarah, they both live on Panola Road, and they, for some reason, were able to get that high-speed internet already. So they already have it on this specific road. But if you didn't get in right away, you have to pay an astronomical amount of money in order to do it. So some friends of mine just bought land there, and so that's what they're dealing with right now.
Now, do you guys have any problems? You're talking about change and growth there. Do you guys have any problems with I jokingly call city people sometimes yuppies.
Same.
So Partlow has a Facebook page, and very fittingly it has the guy with the banjo from Deliverance as the cover picture, but there's always people, yuppies, on there complaining about the loud noises, aka rednecks shooting tannerite. The warning siren from the Lake Anna nuclear plant. Just silly things that, is it always so dark outside? Is it always, what should I do about my neighbor Mona's yard?
We have the same issue.
You live in the country.
Yeah. We have the same issue in Caroline. We have a community Facebook group. Sometimes it could be a little dramatic on things, especially during hunting season. And people who are not from here and they do not know about hunting season and what it takes to hunt your meat. I mean, first of all, that's why God put those animals on this earth. I mean, not to be cruel to them, but hunting them, that's what the Indians did, and that's what the Pilgrims did, so we're just carrying on that tradition. But they use hunting dogs. So hunting dogs have been around for generations and generations and decades and centuries. I mean, they've been around forever, and people will come down that have moved there and they call animal control. They complain about the hunting dogs and things like that. And it's gotten out of hand. And there's a lot of comments that people will say, you shouldn't have moved down here then. But I think it's, instead of telling people, like, just educating the people, like, this is what hunting season is about.
Invite them to your hunt club. Take them out,
and just be respectful of that, because like some of these families, they really do depend on that food. And then a lot of the hunters, they give back.
Tell us about Hunters for the Hungry.
Hunters for the Hungry. So they give back to people who do not have food to put on the table, and so they are hunting for the homeless, for the hungry, and things like that. And it's a great organization. Our broker Mary, her husband and his hunting club are really big into that. So it's a great program. So I think just educating the people, the yuppies that come into our rural areas, our small town USA areas, we just need to educate them about it in a nice, cordial way. You know, we can't do it in a I know everything kind of way.
Oh, yeah, you
So.
can't look down your nose, and neither should they.
Exactly.
Both sides need to, be open-minded to the other. Speaking of yuppies, did you see I called myself a yuppie on Facebook?
No, I missed it.
First time in my life, but my wife made me put a bathroom in our barn.
Oh, I did see that. Yes.
So this is out of my entire house, basement, office space. I have nothing in that home. All I have is my barn and a little man cave that's in, one corner of that barn. And that's all I have. So now that there's a bathroom in there, most of you listening probably are like, what are you complaining about, bro? You got a bathroom in your barn? That's gonna make things easier.
Now you don't have to go outside.
A, I'm a country boy. I'm still gonna go outside. B, what that's gonna do is encourage the women folk spend more time out there. So I'm gonna lose my man space.
They want to spend time with their husbands.
My wife, my sister-in-laws, they're gonna invade my space.
The kids.
Kids are welcome.
Oh, okay.
But they, they're younger. They can hustle back to the house.
Yeah.
But so I'm worried about some changes of brewing, but I am blessed that she has a vision and that
I like that.
she's looking out. So.
Yeah. Rebecca is amazing. I love her.
Yeah, I'll keep her around.
Yeah, you better. You might lose me as your agent.
I always joke that agents like my wife more than they like me. So I definitely she's a big part of my business and a big part of my life, and she's made some very positive changes in both. So we are blessed to have her. And for instance, today I was promoting our Spanish speaking side of the business. I am one of, I won't be cocky enough to say a dozen, but a very limited amount of movement mortgage loan officers nationwide that are certified for our Comunidad program, which means that we speak Spanish, that we're fluent enough to take an application, and now we are able to actually offer the application in Spanish.
Oh, nice.
So it makes things so much easier. Anyhow.
There's a Spanish, a population, Spanish speaking population within Caroline County as well.
Right.
And so I think that's kind of helps us to be able to communicate with them as well, because I am not bilingual at all.
I'll be honest, I've gotten worse since she came on my team. And it's I don't want to say the word lazy, but it's easier to say
Rebecca, you say it.
Yeah, un momento, and then I hand the phone to my wife, and then she just takes it from there.
Yeah, I can see that.
Let's talk about goats, and then let's circle back to Caroline County.
Goats.
So Holly,
greatest of all time.
Holly wants goats. Her husband's not looking for another project. My wife wants goats. I've been skirting that because I got rid of her goat a couple of years ago, and so I've been skirting that. Are you gonna get a goat?
Okay.
Am I going to show up to the next closing with a goat for closing gift?
So
There's
really not a lot of conversation the past few weeks about goats. So for those who know me, I have 13 chickens. We had many more chickens, and my youngest daughter is a very active member in the FFA. She's going to Virginia Tech for state convention, and it's just an amazing little thing. I did not grow up this way. I grew up in the suburbs of Memphis. So the country living was not always for me.
Yep.
I don't know. But anyway, so when it comes to the goats, I also like for things to look nice. I don't care if my house does not sit on the road to where people see it. Like, we don't put Christmas lights out because nobody sees it. However, when you come to visit, I don't want it to look like the Clampets out there. And so I want things to look nice. So I want a really nice fence to put into the area of where goats are gonna go. There might be fainting goats, but my husband is outnumbered with girls. He has me. Okay. He has our oldest, our youngest, our dog Macy, who's a bloodhound, and the only boy we have is our dog Tito. And so goats are still on my radar. And if I can get a nice looking fence, I have an idea, I have a vision.
So this is his saving grace, is that she's holding out for perfection. So.
Yes, exactly. One day.
I understand that and I respect that. I think my wife is similar. It's not how I grew up. So the house was always perfect. So my dad had very high standards, but he worked so much that we did what was necessary to house our animals. So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't always pretty,
Mm-hmm.
but it was efficient. Especially we live both in New York and North Carolina. Different climates, different concerns. One you need airflow, keep it cool. The other one you need to button up tight,
Mm-hmm.
keep them alive. But they weren't always pretty. In fact, 99% of the time they were pretty ugly.
Yeah.
And so when Rebecca and I got together, she saw my chicken coop. She's like, "What on earth is that?" I was like, "It's in here, woman." No, I was like, "Well, actually, I have no patience. I get that from my father." So I actually bought the chicks before I built the coop,
Yeah.
and now I had the pressure of getting it done while still working full time and
Mm-hmm.
wrangling kids and doing my thing. So I got her done.
Yeah, with
It-
pallets,
no, I used
plywood.
I used new lumber, 2x4s,
Oh,
4x4s,
okay.
and plywood, and I even put a roof on it, but the plastic roof. But the problem was I started. Not to go down a rabbit hole, but I started on my driveway, which is perfectly flat. I did
Mm-hmm.
the base of it, the frame, and then I decided this is going to be way too heavy to move once it's complete. So I moved it to where its landing spot was permanent spot, which was on a hill. As I added to it and built it up,
Oh
all of a
no.
sudden it looked like a shack in Central Park during the 19 whatever during the Great Depression. What do they call that? Was the president at the time? Truman? It wasn't Truman. Whatever, you guys get the point.
Yeah,
It was a little shanty, but it was secure. I didn't lose chickens.
that's
That
good.
thing was Fort Knox. Ugly as sin. When I sold the house, I heard the new owners burned it down, but I don't blame them.
They probably had
I don't
a
blame them.
housewarming party, invited all their friends over,
That's
and like,
right.
let's start a bonfire.
Hey, you spend that how you want, but I work in sales, so that means I made people come together and I made people
That's
happy.
right.
So I'll take it.
That's right. Absolutely. I love that. So,
So let's get back to Caroline County.
all
Before
right.
we wrap this up, I want you to tell your peeps, and people listening, a little bit more about the area. Give me some specifics, what you think about the schools, what your favorite thing is about like Bowling Green, the small town area. What attractions, you can mention Kings Dominion again, but if there's anything else that I'm missing, like going down to the river or demolition derby, something.
Well, demolition derby. I don't know
Haven't heard
about
that in a
that
while.
one. Yeah. Actually Meadow
That's
Backyard.
95,
Yes,
right?
yes, 95. Okay, so with Caroline County, actually when I moved here in 2007, it was a huge culture shock for me.
Mhm.
I went looking for the Walmart and the Target.
Mhm. There you go for you.
I went on a huge scavenger hunt because I clearly didn't know North and South or any of that kind of stuff. But that's how I got to know the county so well is we did go out on adventures. We got lost in the
Yep.
area. And that's what I tell people, just go out there and get lost. You have a GPS, you can find your way back eventually, so but that's what we did. And I always fell in love with Bowling Green. And my parents actually had built a house down Sparta. So for all you Caroline County people listening, you know where Sparta is. They were 10 miles down Sparta. Boondocks. It was insane. Beautiful house, absolutely beautiful house. My parents transferred, so they no longer live here in Virginia. However, we lived with them for a little while. We ended up renting, and I was a renter all the way until my mid-30s. I didn't own a house yet, my husband and I, and we've been married for 22 years. So yeah, I know. Yeah, going strong. So anyway, we rented on the Ladysmith side. I was like, oh, I love this side, so nice and convenient. I was close to the Food Lion, which is our grocery store. There's a barbecue place there, there was everything around that way. And then we were close to the schools. And so we liked that area. Well, then the opportunity came up that we could actually rent a house in Bowling Green, and my dream came true. I wanted to live in Bowling Green so very badly. And it was because my broker, Mary. So
Mhm.
Mary was also a very good friend of mine, who was also together with another friend of mine whose name is David Stork. He actually owns the funeral home there in town.
Okay.
But
I knew the name sound familiar.
yeah, he owns a couple of funeral homes actually. So So he owns the funeral home in town. We were friends as well. And so him and Mary were chit-chatting, and we ended up being the ones that got to live in his rental. And it was fantastic. I loved Bowling Green. I loved to be able to get on my bike on a Saturday morning and bicycle to the farmer's market. And I felt like I was in a movie. Like I absolutely loved it. I loved it so much. Now the school is very small. We have 5 schools.
Okay.
The high school is one school. The middle school is another school, and we have 3 elementary schools. Lois and Clark, which is on the Ladysmith side, Madison, which is kind of Ladysmith, in the middle, so it's kind of on that line, and then you have Bowling Green Elementary, which is exclusively for Bowling Green. So some of these kids, like if you think about Port Royal, when you're over here in the river, those kids have to travel on the school bus to get to Bowling Green Elementary for an hour. They have to get on very early. Where we live near Kings Dominion, and I have a friend, Brian Farmer, who's my tech guy, and we've been friends forever. He would say Kings Dominion is technically in Hanover County. I'm like, yes, I know. So anyway, where I live, my daughter gets on the bus at 6:20 in the morning, and she arrives at school around 7:15. So she's almost an hour as well. But the school's only like 3 streets away from us. So it is crazy, but that's rural living. So that is something that people need to know. The schools are great, and I like them because they are not you have that small town living. So you also have that same feeling within the schools. Everybody knows everybody. No, we have teachers that come from all over the place that are employed with Caroline County, and we are a Title I school, which means that we do have some grants available to us, and we have some extra perks that are available because there are a few low income families that live here that kind of help qualify that, but our kids get more opportunities that way because of the Title I grants and everything. So that's a whole nother podcast in its own. But anyway, so, my kids stayed in Bowling Green Elementary the entire time they were there. And it was sweet watching my oldest daughter, who graduated high school in 2019. Her elementary school principal had transferred over to the high school. And so not only did he give her 5th grade graduation promotion certificate, but then there's a picture of him giving her high school diploma. And it was a really special thing. And you don't really get that anywhere else, where, you have the one principal going from one place to another, teachers and things like that. And she had teachers from Bowling Green Elementary that still reach out to her, and she's a hairstylist now, actually. And she has a salon right here on Main Street in Bowling Green. And some of her teachers growing up are now her clients. And so it's just really cool how that all evolves and everything. But of course, with more growth, it kind of can probably seem you still have to get to know each other. You still have to get to know the teachers and things like that. So there's a lot that goes into that.
Oh, I'm sure. And I'll interject there a little bit. The don't trust what you see on the internet about the ratings for Virginia schools.
Agree.
They look ugly. And especially the rural areas, Westmoreland, Spotsylvania, I don't know about King George, but Caroline stuff, they appear to be low ratings compared to, say, Prince William, or I think even Stafford used to be nationally ranked.
Loudoun County.
Now they're freaking awful. What she just said is 100% true. Like you have that one-on-one. Like the principal knows your name. The people working the admin office, they know your name. The teachers know who you are. The class sizes are smaller. It's a different way of living.
It is. It's a great sense of community.
Yes.
People you can lean on and everything else. And when something happens, the community really truly comes together. And like right now, Pitts and Mans, actually, we had a meeting the other day. We had our big event planning meeting. And one of the events that we're actually going to be doing, and it's not necessarily like to put our name out there, because we don't plan on putting any kind of promotional stuff out there or anything, but we're giving back to the community. There are several homeless families living in hotels right now throughout Caroline County. A lot of them are in the Carmel Church area, which is a huge truck stop area if you're not familiar with the 95 corridor of Carmel Church. So lots of truck stops there, hotels, things like that. And there are homeless families living there because there are no rentals available for income-based families right now. If there is, there's a waiting list. So very few options for people. So we're actually going in July and August, I believe, or August and September. We're going to have a cookout with them, and all that. So you're invited if you'd like to go. We're going to bring some grills, hamburgers, hot dogs, all the condiments, and just like have a good old cookout, because they need to know that there is a community that's trying to help them, and we work behind the scenes all the time trying to find homes for these families.
Yeah.
And so it's a great sense of community, and we need everyone to know that.
Absolutely. Real estate with a heart.
Right? Real estate with a heart. Yeah, that's a good way to say that. Yeah,
that's good. And whether you're a believer or you just believe in karma or whatever, it's when you give, you give an ounce, you get a pound back usually. And I think doing stuff like this is very, very important.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think it's gonna pay dividends for you guys. It's not flashy promotion, but it's real life, sincere caring for others, like we're taught you're supposed to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think down the road, word of mouth, it's going to pay dividends for you folks.
Yeah, I mean,
be happy to be involved.
Oh, we would love for you to, of course, because we know you like to grill and all that kind of stuff, and smoke brisket or whatever, pork butt,
and cows.
Yeah,
so you that need to go somewhere
to the cookouts. But yeah, so this is something that it's been on Mary's heart for a really long time, and to be honest, I actually kind of forgot that was something that she really wanted to implement, but she didn't want to do it by herself. She wanted us as a family to do it, which is totally understandable. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, absolutely, let's do this, so it's fantastic. But every fall we do a coat drive. And I have to brag on Mary, because she, I think, has the biggest heart out of all of us. And she's such a good steward, and she really is a great example. She leads by example with our brokerage. And so during the coat drive, I'm all excited. I'm telling people, I'm like, you just leave them on your front porch. I'll come pick up those coats, hats, gloves, scarves, whatever. And we choose different churches throughout, and the schools will get some of the coats and things like that. But Mary, she'll just be sitting at her desk, and she has a bird's eye view of Main Street, and she'll see somebody who looks cold and doesn't have a coat on, and she runs and grabs them a coat and chases them down the street, literally, and will give them a coat. And so it's so sweet. She is such a great example, and leads by example, which is fantastic. So I am super excited for the cookout. You're not going to know it's us, because we're not going to have anything out there that says Pits and Mans, but we're there. So
oh, I'll know it too, because I'll see Mary smoking one of my cigars.
She told me about that.
Yeah.
She said she can't finish it.
It's true. I think she led me on, because I thought she was a cigar aficionado like me. But it turns out she's more of a gas station basic cigar person.
Yes, it's fantastic.
It's one of my guilty pleasures, because I don't spend money on myself. Everything I'm wearing right now, my wife figured out.
She has good taste.
Car or whatever. I don't spend money on myself, but my cigars are one of my guilty pleasures. That's something I started. I had my first cigar in Iraq, and something I brought home. Didn't make a habit, but I do enjoy them. So when I have them, I'm happy to have them.
My husband does too. We have we bought a house that actually we were blessed with having a hot tub already at the house, and it was really nice. So my husband, his manly times,
when he's not working
my to-do list, he is in the hot tub with a cigar and a glass of whiskey. So
yes. I liked him.
I know. Y'all have so much in common. It's crazy. So, but yeah, I think, the sense of community is important. And I feel like the world is missing that sense of community, which is why people like to migrate. They'll get a little taste of Caroline County, a little taste of Bowling Green or Port Royal. And if you haven't been to Port Royal, do you go fishing?
Not like I want to. So I'll be honest, I don't think I've fished in 2 years. Maybe a year and a half. But I used to fish all the time as a kid. I love fishing. I just don't make time to do it.
Yeah, my family are fishing junkies, and they will leave after dinner and they'll go catfishing. You can go to Port Royal, you can get on the pier. You're not supposed to go after dark, by the way. But Port Royal is like a hidden gem, and there's a lot of history, like John Wilkes Booth. That's where he was captured. And then he was transported to the Bowling Green jail, which is still up today. So there's tons of history in Caroline County that I think people just don't know about. And of course, us Caroline County people, we know about it.
Fun fact, but somebody in high school spent a night in the Bowling Green jail.
Not me, because
I'm
I
just-
didn't
I'm
live
just
here.
messing.
Mary might have.
Yeah,
Ask her about that
probably,
one.
probably. People in general don't know how much history in Virginia. It's insane.
It
I
is.
forget it's one of the original colonies, and the history just there's so many layers to it.
Yeah, we had I had to school my husband's cousin once about that.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, they're a Mississippi family.
Mhm.
Mississippi family. So I had to school him about he's like, y'all sound like a bunch of Yankees. And I'm like, really? Really? Do you know where Virginia's located? Do you know the
Mhm.
history? And so we had a little education going
Yeah.
on that day, and it was fantastic. But yeah, no, I mean, so like Port Royal has tons of history in it, but it's a great fishing spot for catfishing if you love some catfish, any kind of fish. And there's a great restaurant there. My favorite is Randolph's. They actually have homemade crab dip that they do with homemade pork rinds with it.
I've driven past there 1,000 times and never stopped.
Yeah, we talked about this.
I stopped at the antique place. I stopped at what's it called, Horns.
Horns, yeah,
Yeah.
Horns for a milkshake. That
Yeah.
is fantastic. And Horns is actually starting to have a lot more events. Like they had a trunk or treat last year and things like that. And so in the rural areas, that's what you do. You have a trunk or treat because you don't have a lot of neighborhoods to be able to do something like that. So, but yeah, the sense of community, people miss that, and I think that's why they are migrating down to these areas like Bowling Green and Port Royal, Ladysmith. And Ladysmith is great because you do have those big lake communities. So you have, jet skiing and just the lake living life, but you're close. You can commute to DC, Dahlgren, Quantico, all of those places. It's an easy commute.
Now you mentioned Lake Caroline a couple of times. You guys' 3 lakes. That's a good segue into my next topic, and our final topic is investing in real estate in Caroline County and surrounding areas. What investment opportunities are you seeing for people reaching out to you? And to go further, you can start with that, but keep it broad. But I'd like you to answer what are restrictions, if any, for like Airbnbs, short-term rentals? Because I hear like some of the communities, like Lake Caroline's a private community, they don't allow Airbnb.
It is HOA specific.
Yeah,
it is. And so if you are living in Lake Caroline, every HOA, like Ladysmith Village is not a lake community, and they are against short-term rentals. Because anytime that you take a dwelling and you make it into a multifamily home, basically, the HOAs are like, no, that's not allowed. The county also says that's not allowed. That's against code as well. But
that's code for what?
For having multi-families inside of like a
Okay,
single
I
dwelling.
understand.
Yeah. So hopefully the Lake Caroline specifically, they have both lakes are just beautiful. Caroline Pines, they do not have any restrictions that I know of against that. Their lake is not as big, but it would be great. So there are some restrictions for that. It's all HOA dependent. What I am seeing though are people who want to get away. So if you go on Airbnb on the app, you'll see the last time I checked, there were 5 Airbnbs in the entire county. I had this sweet man call me back in the fall. He lives in Florida. He called and he said that he used to be able to get dibs on the cabins in AP Hill, and him and his buddies would get together and lie about their fishing stories and then go hunting for the day. And they would always stay in these cabins, but they weren't available anymore. So he said, can you please help me find a 2-week rental for me and my guys? Yeah. And I was like, I'm on it, sir. Don't you worry. And not long after that, I had a friend approach me. He has another house. It is beautiful. It is on this beautiful private lake. It's a 40-acre lake called Reedy Mill Pond. And that is now on an Airbnb, and it's close to, there's tons of wedding venues in the Caroline County area because everyone wants that kind of, the barn wedding and things like that. So like Reedy Mill Pond is very close to one of the most popular wedding venues in the area. Then there's another one in Bowling Green, but you're going to see that Airbnbs are very popular because we are so close. They're becoming more and more popular. So I truly think that is where the investment world is kind of going into. We still need those long-term rentals for people who just need to rent or want to rent. But the short-term rentals, you have Meadow Event Park. That is just right down the road where you have the state fair, you have the rodeos, you have right now there's a BMW convention, BMW motorcycle convention going on at the Meadow Event Park right now. There's concert series that happen every summer. The King's
When she says Meadow Event Park, she's talking about a huge huge place.
It's where Secretariat.
Yeah, right next to King's Dominion. It's where they have the state fair and everything, and it's a huge
Yeah,
rodeos, everything.
yeah, it's a huge facility. My daughter being an FFA, they have the chicken poultry shows there and and everything else. And then we also have the agriculture fairgrounds that's in Caroline County as well. So there are so many opportunities for people who are coming into these areas that need an Airbnb. So I think we're going to start seeing more Airbnbs coming about. As far as the county goes, the county regulations, there are no county regulations against short-term rentals at this moment.
Is there any rumblings that they will be coming? Okay.
Not yet.
King George has done that.
And Lake Anna is trying to change theirs.
That's not gonna happen.
I hope not.
They can try all day, but they ain't gonna happen.
Clients from Pennsylvania, they've been trying to, and I guess this month is when Lake Anna is supposed to make their decision on all that stuff, but we'll see. But yeah, I do think that there is it's a great time to invest, especially in Caroline County, because you come across these homes that some of them are vacant, they're cottages, like cute little ranchers that just need to be flipped, and some of them don't need a lot to be flipped, and then you can turn them into these Airbnbs or a long-term rental. I just had someone who it's her first investment property. It's going to be a long-term rental for her. We're hoping to make a decision. Actually, it's already on the market. We're hoping to make a decision, but it's a completely renovated 3-bedroom, 1-bath, gorgeous little tiny rancher, 832 square feet. And she paid cash for it, and she immediately is building that equity already. She did. I know. I always feel weird.
I'm always teasing.
She got cash for it. But my husband and I are also into trying to start investing into properties, because the best way, real estate is the number one investment for anybody. And it's a great way to do that. And Airbnbs, I think, give you a faster return on investment when you do it that way. And so maybe getting into a short-term rental, like a little cottage or something that takes your breath away. You're in the middle of the woods. You feel like you're camping, but it's glamping. And people from DC, if you read the reviews on these 5 Airbnbs, they're people from like the Washington, DC area, New York, things like that, all the reviews. And they really just wanted the peacefulness. So internet is not even an issue when you were talking about these Airbnbs, because some of these people just want to get away. So I think that's really just where the rentals are going.
Everybody thinks that an Airbnb has to be waterfront, lake house, or oceanfront. It doesn't. People that just they could just want to come for their kid's graduation or the birth of a grandchild. It could be, like you said, glamping. So you get people from the city that they don't want to leave the city life, that walkability and everything that they enjoy, but they also want to have that rural experience once in a while. I mean, there's an attraction. They're a good thing. What we're seeing is, and this nationwide, is a crackdown in some communities. So you'll get politicians are always looking for cheap scores that make themselves look good. So everybody knows that it's a nationwide housing shortage. Inventory is super low. So a lot of them are taking cracks at Airbnbs, because short-term rentals are one less house that could be a long-term rental, and put a family in there that needs to rent, right? So the Airbnbs are the bad guys in some communities.
And they're trying to really crack down on it. And I am not opposed to long-term rentals, because long-term rentals are needed. Like the families that I was talking about that are living in hotels because they're homeless. There's nothing for them to rent, whether they don't have a good credit score or they just don't have the funds saved, or it's out of their budget, whatever the case may be. There still needs to be those long-term rentals. But the problem is with long-term rentals is that these investors are seeing how much the rent goes for in DC, and they're like, oh, I can get that down here. But how are you? I'm all about helping another family. Like I have a girl that's going to be moving up here from Newport News, and she's a single mom of 3 kids. She has a slumlord back home. So I'm hoping to put her into one of these rentals so that she can have a better quality of life and get ahead of herself, and then eventually move into buying her own property. And that's always my end goal, is to work with them while they're renting so that we can get them into home ownership. So there is still always going to be a need, obviously, for those long-term rentals. But if you are somebody who doesn't want to be a landlord, then a short-term rental is definitely a great return on investment, and do it before all the politicians try to continue to crack down on it. But it's insane how they're trying to do that. They have to control things. That's all.
Yeah.
So
Well, score points wherever they want. I saw a realtor post on Instagram recently. It was, I can't remember if it's Montgomery County, somewhere in Maryland, but essentially they were simultaneously putting a rent control policy that you couldn't increase your rent more than 10% for this year or the next 2 years, whatever it was, while simultaneously raising property taxes. So this specific landlord that this agent represented, he saw his insurance costs go up as well as utilities and stuff about, we'll say $300. Well, now his property taxes are going up. The home rents for $2,000 a month. He can only increase it 10%.
yeah, that's not going to help cover the increase.
That doesn't cover a fraction of the increase.
Yeah.
So how is he supposed to be profitable, and how is he supposed to have money to maintain that property and make it livable?
Yeah.
So all he's going to do is sell that. He's going to end up selling that property to a buyer that's going to buy that for his own family. So that's one less rental on the market.
Yep.
So they're hurting it. They're making the crisis worse. But in the news, they look good.
Yeah, exactly.
They're scoring points. Like, oh,
you should listen to podcasts instead of the news.
That's right. Listen to Chad and Holly.
We got this.
We're the experts. We know stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Cool. Yes. Well, I appreciate this. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
You're welcome.
I hope you invite me to do it again. I hope I didn't ramble too much for you.
I don't know, guys. Should we invite her?
Oh,
I'm spilling.
Oh.
All right. She's a winner in my book. She's fine.
Put hair on your chest.
Appreciate your time. Guys, if you're looking in the Caroline County area or any surrounding areas, I can't say enough nice things about her. I don't kiss her skirt just because she's a top partner, because she gives me business. I've really watched her grow at the same time I was growing in my business, because I was new when I met her initially.
You know what I miss? I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry. But yes, I got to watch Chad grow, which has been such a delight watching this happen as well. So I'm glad that we've had each other's backs, but I miss the popcorn. Chad used to come when I was the admin. He'd bring us popcorn from the popcorn bag.
That's
down the street. Oh my gosh, it was one of my favorites. So anyway, just so you know, I miss the popcorn.
I'll tell you offline why that changed.
Okay.
But she's a rock star. So if you're looking in the area, one of her specialties that might not be as sexy in some areas and some agents, but is land. Because she goes the extra mile on land. Most agents that represent land sellers or buyers, they know nothing. They know what the plot is and where the boundaries are, and I'll go walk out in the weeds with you. She actually knows about the soil and knows about all the stuff I don't know about. And she goes the extra mile for her clients. So if you're looking in the area, hit her up. If you want to talk real estate investing, hit her up. I've got her contact info in the caption.
Can we go just one more little thing? I'm sorry, one more little thing about land. Thank you so much.
They're probably listening on 95 and they're stuck in traffic.
I am very land piqued my interest. I really wanted to know. The more you know, the more you grow. And so Rodney Whitaker, I have to shout him out. And then he has another partner, Ruben. Those two, I would probably the biggest PITA to them, because I will call them, hey, can you explain this to me? Can you explain this to me? But what I've come to realize talking about short-term rentals, and I wanted to bring this up during that time, is the land. You can buy land and do the glamping. You can put a yurt on this land. You can make a campsite. Now with the campsites though, there are county regulations, things like that you have to get into for the zoning purposes and stuff like that. But it is an option as short-term rentals. And there is actually an Airbnb camp app. So it's not called Airbnb though. So it
Yeah.
is like, if you are looking for somewhere to go on vacation and to camp, to pitch a tent, you can go on this specific app and rent your campsite just like that. So, and it's people who have land that are just renting spaces out for others. So there's another way to get a return on your investment if you are just sitting on land besides farmland. Sorry, go ahead.
You're good.
That was what I wanted to say. So there's a
Okay.
lot that can go in
Proves
with
my
land.
point. She's the gal to talk to. Hope you guys enjoy this. If you have any questions about real estate investing, anything, hit us up. Once again, this was Whiskey, Wisdom, and Real Estate. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.